now.
Hello and welcome to the Sydenham Arts Live-streamed Podcast, where we talk all things Sydenham, Lewisham and beyond. Thank you very much for tuning in today. We are very excited to have you here. My name's Angela Eyton, I'm your host, and tonight we are joined by not one, not two, but three fantastic guests. Yes, coming up on the show, we have the wonderful Bernadette Russell, the fantastic Esme Allman, and from Lewisham Foodbank, we have the brilliant Carol Bostridge. We also have a couple of special guest appearances for you, and we find out who will be crowned the ultimate living legend of the week. That's quite a crown to wear. For those of you that are watching tonight on YouTube, hello! You are welcome to say hi to us over the chat, or if you have any questions for our guests, just pop them in there and we will try and ask them as we go along. Now, our first guest is a Lewisham gem. They are a storyteller, a performer, an activist, a kindness campaigner, which is my favourite bit, an author, and they have recently written a book called How to Be Hopeful, and they have a podcast of the very same name. Needless to say, they have been incredibly busy over lockdown, spreading messages of hope and joy, and we are absolutely delighted to have them as our very first guest on the Sydenham Arts Podcast. Yes, it is the one and only Bernadette Russell.
Thank you. That's such a good introduction. That's amazing. I'm going to keep you with me at all times.
Great. Do it. You deserve that introduction. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Reading across any of your websites and everything. It makes me feel good to read the words on there. So
as you can see, the Northern Lights are in Deptford.
Yeah, we would never have expected to see that, but what a wonderful moment for us all. Yeah, very calming and very beautiful. Thank you for joining us.
I'm really pleased. It's so nice to be involved in something in our most excellent borough. I'm very, very pleased.
Yes, thank you. And we're obviously delighted that you can be here as well. So thank you. You've managed to write a book during a global pandemic, which is quite an achievement, and it's a book about hope as well, in a time where many of us may have found it quite difficult to find hope. And so I was wondering really what sort of inspired you to write How to Be Hopeful.
No, thank you for asking that, and thank you for noting that, because it was unexpected to find myself dealing with that. So I'd been thinking about hope for a long time, and it was partly because a lot of the people that I'd been working with, so I do lots of community projects like I think you do, Angela, although they were doing amazing work, I'd noticed that they'd started to express kind of despair at just the weight and amount of bad news and difficult things. And I started thinking, gosh, hope feels like it's really in thin supply, and people are carrying on courageously and bravely despite that. But it made me feel quite sad, really. And I remember listening to Greta Thunberg, who I absolutely love, saying something along the lines of, "We don't need your hope." And it really struck me, and I thought, well, this isn't to criticise her, because it's not exactly what she meant, I don't think. But I thought, gosh, I need hope, because I have to believe that what I'm going to do is going to affect some sort of change. So I started to investigate hope a little bit, and started to sort of see if anyone would be interested in me writing a book about it. And interestingly, there was a little bit of resistance to start with, Angela, a bit of resistance about having the audacity, and this was before COVID, to write a book about hope. So I was really pleased to find Elliot and Thompson, who were my brilliant publishers, who were really like, yeah, this is what we need to hear about. And then I sort of set off on a little journey, and I'd written the first draft of the book, and I'd spoken to people from all over the world about hope, and I was really inspired, and I really felt like I was on to something. And then, right? Yeah. And then we all know what happened. So literally, I filed my first draft on Valentine's Day, a day I'd chosen because I thought that was a positive day, celebration of love and all that. And then 4 weeks later, we were in lockdown. So, wow. So I was doing rewrites and we were working on edits and considering how to respond to that honestly, whilst not writing a book about COVID, because we still don't know the outcome of it. And actually, it made me more determined to look for that and more determined to talk to people about that. And actually, I found a load of stuff that happened in lockdown, particularly in our amazing borough of Lewisham, really hopeful, actually. You know, all the mutual aid groups that sprang up, all the people going out of their way to be generous and kind to their neighbours. Suddenly, windows became art galleries. Suddenly, people were dancing in the streets. Suddenly, people were having time to spend more time in their garden and with their family. So actually, I think it was a really rich source of hope. Do you think in some ways?
Yeah. And I was just thinking, actually, because you talk about connecting with communities, don't you, in your book? And I think that COVID was a real example of people being willing and ready to just give, to try and give what they can in a situation, because it's kind of like active turning hope into more than just a thought. It's very, you have people that can be very practical about things, like you talk about in your book. And absolutely, I think that you saw some of the very best of people, really, people being willing to go out and do their neighbours' shopping and posting through people's doors, you know, little notes with their contact details on, saying that they'd go and get things for people if they needed them, pick up medication for anyone that's isolating, and then so within literally your next door neighbours. And then you had other things where people are driving food parcels to people, and I absolutely think it was quite amazing. The amount of volunteers that signed up for things was a real example of that. Yeah,
it was. I think what we saw, and it's really important that we hold on to it in the dark days that we'll have, no doubt, is that actually what we saw is how eager and hungry people are to help. You know, there was the NHS volunteer helpline was oversubscribed by about 7 times. I couldn't tell you how many times people offered to do my shopping. It was, and there was an outpouring of generosity and eagerness to help. And many people have written about it and noted it before, but I think in a way it was a privilege to bear witness to that, which is a strange way of describing a pandemic experience. And I know there was lots of grief and suffering for all of us, no doubt, but it also was a wonderful thing to see that, I think. Yeah, and if we can hold on to remembering that.
Yeah, remembering the good things that we saw as well. And did you find that difficult though as well, because of all the other stuff going on? Was it very, very literally difficult to write? Did you get creative block at all, or were you so inspired by everything that was going on around you that didn't make a difference?
No, it didn't. It was extraordinary because what I had done some research and theorising about, I literally saw demonstrated in front of me. So it was a very peculiar feeling, actually, to have some things that I tried myself, because I agree with you. I think the important thing is I'm writing about and trying to encourage active hope rather than a sort of passive wishful thinking, though there is, of course, a place for that as well. I saw was hope in action. I literally saw it. So the things I'd been writing about and reporting on and talking to people about that had happened in other parts of the world were happening on my doorstep in Lewisham. I saw that. So in some ways, although it made for a bigger rewrite, in some ways it made it easier, because I was look, it's here, it's happening. It's not a theory or a daydream or something that happens in another part of the world. It's happening in Deptford.
Yeah, amazing. And you one thing that really struck me about How to Be Hopeful was that you offer exercises, actual practical exercises on how to turn hope into more than just a thought, into an action. And I wondered if there's something that you developed just for the book, or have you worked a long time on creating those exercises to help?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was really, all of my books are sort of practical, because I always want to try things. So since I first started this particular adventure, which is way back in 2011 now, I always did things exactly as you were saying, Angela. I always made I didn't want to just theorise about kindness or theorise about environmental campaigning. I wanted to do things. I wanted to be kind. I wanted to plant trees. I wanted to try things. So they're all things I've done, because I think it's probably a bit better if you've done them, just because you can also be realistic about what pitfalls might arise. And also, I wanted it to be scalable. So some people, for whatever reason, might not be able to do huge things, and that's okay, you know. And I wasn't always able to do huge things. Sometimes it was little things, and they couldn't always be things that had money. So yeah, all of the practical exercises I've done, they're tried and tested.
Yeah, no, and that's really great to say as well, and especially the kind of doing smaller things, if that's what you can do, because I think sometimes you can get caught up in these massive global problems, or something like climate change, where you can feel sort of hopeless. You can try certain things, but it's hard to know how you as a tiny individual can have a bigger effect. And so that's really great to offer the small things that can help towards something. Definitely. And you talk about the positive bias of children, and how we can be inspired by children and our younger selves, which I see that in my own family. Since my brothers had children, I see the change in my family. Why do you think it's so difficult to hold on to that sort of childlike positivity or hope? Why do you think we lose it as we get older?
Really interesting, because I know you work with children. You mentioned that you just finished it, so you'll see it, so you know what I'm talking about. Anyone that's around children will understand that children you can see it, this kind of positivity, optimistic, rose-tinted way of seeing the world, or at least of trying things. And so I kind of looked into that. I spoke to people that worked with refugee children in the camps in Calais and in Greece, about their experience of children still finding joy, seeking out joy and play and fun, and learn a little bit about children's optimism, even though there's no conclusive theories about why children aren't like that, but there is quite a lot of research into why we lose that. And actually, a thing that really helped me was finding out that it kind of isn't our fault, because it's to do with us having to survive. So I found some research from a fantastic doctor called Dr. Rick Hansen, and he talked about how basically we have a sort of negativity bias in order to literally keep us alive. And so I tell a story in the book about a woman going out for a walk, a sort of woman back in prehistoric days going out for a walk, and she has a lovely time with her friends, and they eat loads of berries and have fun, and they sing and they dance and have a nice day out. But on the way back home, she trips over on a tree root. And when she gets home and she's telling the story to her friends around the fire, she doesn't tell about the berries or the fun and laughter or the song and dancing. She tells about the tree root, because that's the thing that could have killed her.
Right, yes,
so in order for us to survive, our brains held on to the thing that could have endangered us. Now that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's why we do it. But as he said, most of us aren't going to die from a minor injury. So it's actually, we hold on to these, he calls them long shadows, these sort of memories of things that actually aren't very helpful to us. But one really encouraging thing I found out is that you can literally train yourself. You can kind of overcome it by training your brain to be positive. And it works, because I tried it. So all you do is every time something positive happens, and that can be a really small thing, like somebody letting you get on first on the bus, or somebody helping with luggage, or you find 50p in a drawer or something, anything, it can be a tiny thing. You kind of let yourself enjoy that moment. You focus on it and you linger on it, and then it has more chance of transferring to your long-term memory. So then you kind of build up this library of hopeful, positive memories, instead of this library of tree roots tripping you up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you can train yourself, and it does work. So if you teach yourself, if you make a daily practice of noticing something hopeful every day, it will change your life. And it literally changes your brain.
That's great. That's great advice, and scientific as well. So,
advice. Yeah.
Well, speaking of children's positive bias, I got a couple of our younger listeners to write questions that they'd like to ask adults. So I've got some questions from Holly and Jazz, who are 6 and 8 years old. I'm picking them out at random from a bag. So this is a random question for you. And it's, Bernadette, what's your favourite animal? Holly and Jazz would like to know.
Fox.
A fox. Yeah. Any particular reason that it's a fox?
Well, they're really good looking, but also they're second only to us in the best at surviving. They live on they only like us, second only to us. They live in every kind of environment on Earth, from the Arctic to, so they live in deserts, they live in the Arctic. They can switch between hunting and scavenging depending on what's needed. They're super clever. They're just amazing. And they kind of make fridges. That's true.
They kind of make fridges.
The kids will like that. So when they need to store in the Arctic, when they need to store food, they kind of dig out a cold area, store some food, and then put the snow back over it. So it's kind of like a primitive fox fridge. And then later on they can go back and get their things out of their fridge.
Oh, amazing.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And the kids will like that. And I like that very much as well. So we asked you to bring along one item that symbolised lockdown for you. Do you have that item with you by any chance?
Oh, it looks a bit tragic. So, I'll tell you the story of it, Angela.
Please do.
Okay. So first of all, this little bottle, it isn't really lockdown, but it's quite sweet. I found this on the beach in Greenwich. So that's quite nice. But this is because every single day during lockdown, I went to Oxley's Woods.
Yeah.
And I go there every day anyway. But like many people, I heard the birds were so loud during lockdown because there was no sound apart from really loud birds. And I swear, Angela, a cow. I heard a cow. And my friend said, I think that cow must be cowing, must be mooing from Kent, but you can just hear it. But anyway, so I brought that because I went into the woods every day and heard the birds, and I did lots of recordings of the birds and just listened. And it was just so amazing and so hopeful, actually, because I thought despite everything that's going on, kind of nature's getting on with it, and also actually kind of revitalising in a way, having had a little bit of a break from cars and fumes and all the rest of it. So that's my thing.
That's weird. Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. And you very kindly said that you would also read a little bit from How to Be Hopeful as well this evening. If you'd like to do that, that would be fantastic.
The very beginning of it is a little bit about Lewisham. So.
Fab.
I hope it's not too. I don't think it's too long, Angela. If it's too
it'll be
long,
great. No, don't worry.
So it's called In Search of Hope. A few months ago, I was on the number 47 bus towards Lewisham, which is a pretty regular route for me, when I overheard a woman say to her friend, "The news made me cry this morning. I just wanted to go back to bed. Everything is so awful." And all that week, I couldn't stop thinking about what the woman had said. I began to pay greater attention to all the expressions of despair and pessimism and cynicism that I heard from friends and family and neighbours and work colleagues. I noticed so much of this online and in the news. It seemed to me as though a dark cloud hung over us all. As I watched and listened attentively, it appeared we were doing very little but talking about how awful everything is, or else we were sticking our heads in the sand and praying that it would all go away. And it looked like hope was an endangered species, and yet I couldn't see how things could possibly improve without it. We live in a truly amazing world, despite the very real and present troubles we face. But it seems that many of us are struggling to find hope for ourselves, for our communities, or for the world at large. And so many people told me that they feel very bleak about the future, that they feel scared all the time, depressed, anxious, and powerless. Although we are sometimes still able to laugh and to find joy, it seems that lots of us are hemmed in by quiet despair, and I didn't want to simply passively accept that this was the way things were. I was determined to work out how to find hope and how to hold on to it, and I wanted to help everyone else to do so too. Hope feels like the basis from which all possibilities spring. Without it, positive change does not feel achievable. The first time I remember hearing a story about hope was when my Sunday school teacher, Mrs. Hibditch, told me about Pandora's box. I think a lot of people will recall this tale, vaguely at least. But to recap, Pandora is given a box which she's told she must never open. Yeah, it's obvious where this is going. Inevitably, after a while, Pandora opens the box, and all at once fly out all the evils of the world: grief, famine, death, greed, disease, anger, sorrow, pain. You get the picture. And shocked, Pandora shuts the box, but the evils have bolted and it's too late. The earthly paradise is no more. And after weeping in despair, Pandora hears a faint cry from within the box, imploring her to open it again. Presumably, she decides that it probably can't get much worse, so she does. And then out flies hope, tiny, golden, plucky hope, to protect humankind from all the evils of the world. What hope was doing in such bad company is a philosophical conundrum that's divided thinkers, writers, artists, and spiritual leaders since the story was first recorded in the 8th century BC. Some see hope as a punishment, as just another evil in the box, a false promise of better things to come that could only prolong our torment. Others have suggested that hope was placed there as a gift from the gods to help us in our times of need. And this is how I feel about hope today. To me, it's our main shield and weapon against the problems in the world. Hope allows us to believe that things can get better, helping us to find a way through our dark times. I'm certain of this.
Oh, thank you, Bernadette. Thank you so much. That's really lovely and really just a wonderful thing to be writing about, and amazing that you had resistance towards it in the first place, really. But yeah, it just shows that it needs to be out there, really.
It's funny, when I was looking through it, actually, I realised so much of it is about Lewisham. Obviously, I've lived here a long time and in Lewisham, and there's lots of Lewisham people in there and organisations and stuff. So that's nice as well.
Yeah, that's great. That's really brilliant. Thank you. I wish we could talk for longer, but and now I have to move on, but it's been so lovely speaking to you. Thank you for sharing everything that you've shared as well this evening, and good luck with everything that you're doing, and good luck with the book as well.
I'm just going to show it to you because it looks like that. Thank
you. Fab.
It doesn't normally have the...
we've put a little slide up for you. Mike has popped a little picture up.
That's even better than mine.
It's not fading into the northern lights. No, it's just a clear picture. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye now. Oh, great. And How to Be Hopeful is available in all very good bookstores. Lovely. So, okay, for our next segment, unbelievably, we have managed to get in touch with a bit of a Hollywood legend. There are rumours that he used to live in Sydenham and Forest Hill. His stubble is the envy of the Hollywood community. And although now he spends most of his time in Beverly Hills, he has vowed never to forget his roots and has kindly taken time out of his action-packed schedule to record some songs for us. Our next guests, all they have to do is listen to the song that has been recorded and tell me what the song is. There is a point for song title, artist, and the year that the song was released. So that's 3 points per song up for grabs. Our guests have to buzz in. Whoever buzzes in first gets to have a go at the 3 points. Okay, so we have our second guest, Esme Allman, coming on to play, and Rihanna Compton, who nominated our living legend this week. They are eagerly waiting in the wings. Without further ado, let's play Jason Statham Sings to the Nation.
Jason Statham Sings to the Nation.
Hello. Hey. Hey, Esme. Hey, Rihanna. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, are you both clear on the rules? Can I get a vocal yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. I believe that. I believe those yeses. Wonderful. Now, in order to win the points and buzz in and guess and feel brilliant about winning something today, you need to buzz. So I need to know what your nominated buzzer sound will be. Rihanna, please can you give me your nominated buzzer sound?
Moo.
Oh, a classic moo. A classic and semi-enthusiastic moo. I like it. And Esme, what have you got for us?
Beep.
Beep. Even more classic than a moo, really, isn't it? A beep and a moo. Okay, I can remember those. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us and thank you for playing with very little introduction, both of you. And so, okay, you've given me your buzzer sounds. There's 3 points on offer per song. Are we ready? Oh, we're ready. Okay, without further ado, let's have our first.
Any other day, I would call, you would say, baby, how's your day? But today, it ain't the same. Every other word is a ha, yeah, okay. Could it be that you are in the crib with another lady?
Beep.
Oh, we've got a beep from Esme. Fantastic. Yes, Esme.
Is it Say My Name by Destiny's Child?
Yes, it is. Say My Name, Destiny's Child. Okay, that's 2 points. You've got, if you can guess the year, you've got 3. Rihanna, if she hesitates, you can jump in here, but you've got a moo in.
Damn.
Moo.
Oh, moo.
98.
Oh, it's not 98. Esme, any idea?
2000? Oh, I should
No,
know
I'm
that.
afraid you're both exceptionally close. It was actually 1999, right in between both of your guesses, but it doesn't matter. Esme's on 2 points. Rihanna, you're trailing behind here. All right, so
Shocker.
okay. So, and thank you. We've got someone writing on the chat that Jason is looking great. Thank you. Yeah, he is obviously a bit of a Hollywood stud. Okay. Are we ready for our next song? Yep, fantastic.
What do you want? Baby, I got it. What do you need?
Moo.
No, I got it. All I'm asking is for a little.
Okay, Rihanna, that was a clear moo. A clear moo from you. Go on. What have you
God.
got for me?
Aretha Franklin.
Yes.
RESPECT.
Yes, okay. Guess the year?
Oh man. 83.
No, it's not 1983.
No idea. No idea.
No. Okay, Esme, it's your chance to steal because you're drawing at the moment.
1967.
Oh my gosh, it's 1967.
No.
Bang on. That's so good. Yeah, okay. We have a clear winner. Thank goodness, because I just realised I'd forgotten a tiebreaker question for you. So I was like, if you could steal this, Esme, that would be fantastic. Great. So we've got Esme, 3 point Esme, 2 point Rihanna. I'm sorry, Rihanna. It's always sad, isn't it? But I'm impressed you got some points. Well done. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for playing Jason Statham Sings to the Nation. We'll have your living legend coming up later in the show. Woo-hoo! So, woo, this is where we say goodbye to Rihanna and see you in a minute, Esme, because we will be back to have a chat with you in a second. Thanks, both of you. Bye. And of course, really, we need to say a huge thank you to Jason because, he really did us a solid there and delivered something quite special, I think. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for taking the time. Okay, so our second guest needs no introduction because you just met her, but she is a writer, a poet, a performer, and a theatre facilitator. She has written, directed, and performed in her own film club, which is currently online as part of the Fringe of Colour Festival. Yesterday, she completed her first commission for the Sydenham Arts Centre, and we are delighted to have her on the show today. Thank you. Yes, it is the spectacular Esme Allman. Hey, hi, Esme.
Lovely intro. That was so nice.
Oh, good. You can keep that. That's all about that stuff that you actually do. So that's actually you. It's you. It's real. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for playing Jason. Well done for winning as well. Fantastic. What a great feeling. We've got some love on the chat there. Great steal, Esme. So well done. There you go. So Esme, yesterday you finished your commission for the Sydenham Arts Centre. You were delivering a series of workshops for young people of colour aged 16 to 21. The space of our lack is the space of our possibility. A collaborative poetry set of workshops. I was wondering what inspired you to develop the programme.
Oh my gosh. So I think that during COVID, COVID has kind of forced everybody into this kind of creating space under catastrophe. And I think that for a lot of us, we're kind of not necessarily well versed in the specifics of COVID, but definitely in a kind of lack of resources, in a kind of being pushed to the margins of the arts, whether or not you're there or not, or if you can get in. So I decided to kind of, that's a bit bleak. And I was reading some bell hooks over the quarantine period. And I read this gorgeous quote that, she talks about, the space of our lack is, the space of possibility. And I thought, what a wonderful way to kind of look at how we kind of imagine and create in this kind of, in this slightly liminal space when you feel like you are in lack of something. So I wanted to create a program that, gave a dedicated writing and creative space to kind of young people of color who've been like really heavily affected by COVID, whether it be by school or just kind of like, quite the bleak statistics around, the death rates and the policing rates, and just give us something fun to do for a bit and just give us something that was going to bring us some joy. And just kind of really, have some fun working all together, which we did. We had so much fun.
Yeah, I think it's really like interesting making a collaborative poem as well. And because I watched Mosquito and Addicted on the Sydenham Arts YouTube channel, and from my perspective, they seem incredibly personal. They sound like they're coming from one voice, and I wondered if it's difficult to develop such a cohesive piece when it's a collaborative poem, or if that's something you don't consider at the beginning.
So initially that task, like the group were so awesome and they were incredibly responsive to kind of all of the wacky tasks I threw at them. So I didn't initially tell them that it would be a group poem. I just, you have to get creative as well when you're on Zoom, which the chat function is like actually quite useful when you're doing a writing workshop and a poetry workshop. So so we just kind of had these like different pieces of poems and we were like, right, like let's piece them together, let's share screen and kind of move these around in a Word document. So we had those two group poems, and then they all wrote a bunch, like loads and loads of individual poems that they showed yesterday, and they were all fantastic. They were so good.
And did they show them over Zoom as well?
Yeah, so we got readings from all of the participants yesterday, and then the gorgeous graphics that James at Sydenham Arts created for us, which are the poems that you were just talking about that you saw.
Yeah, he's good at the graphics, isn't he? Which is lucky for us, I think. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure as well that we talk about Club, which is a film that you've written, performed, and directed. So it's a digitised theatre piece, and it centres around queer Black club scene. So could you tell us a little bit more about the film, what it's about, and things like that without too many spoilers?
Yes, definitely. Oh my God, it sounds like I Ben Affleck the film. I just have to say, like, I made it in quarantine, so also on quite like strict restrictions. So yeah, I always say that I kind of perform out of necessity at this point. I can do it, but I don't enjoy it as much as kind of being behind the scenes. But Club was, yeah, it was initially a piece that I created that kind of, captured all of my love for both theatre and poetry. And it ran at a scratch night at a small theatre called Theatre Delhi, which was really, really fun. And then quarantine came around, and my friend Jess Bruff, who organises Fringe of Colour, was like, right, as like I'm digitalising our scheme, and usually Fringe of Colour was a kind of ticket offering process to people of colour at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival to go and see shows by and featuring people of colour. So Jess was like, hey, we don't have the Fringe this year, so I'm going to make my own Fringe that is, entirely by people of colour, and also then kind of generates an audience for people of colour. Do you want to digitalise your theatre piece and put it online? And I was like, absolutely. So yeah, Jess, they were fantastic. Like, they were incredibly supportive, and they also have a strand of Fringe of Colour that has been reviewing all of the shows that go up. So that your show is also in safe hands with all of the people who watch it and review it, because the reviews are like really kind, and they've kind of eradicated this starring system. So it's not about, how many stars did your show get? It's just about, okay, the writer assigned to the show, like, how did they connect with it? And I was lucky enough that someone I met over Zoom during lockdown actually reviewed the show for Fringe of Colour. So we met for the first time. Her name's Elite. So we met for the first time off Zoom, and she was like, oh, by the way, like, I've just reviewed your show. And I was like, oh my God, like, what a coincidence. Like, we never would have known each other had we not been doing a separate program. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your actual question. I've kind of talked around Fringe of Colour and not necessarily my short film.
No, that's okay. It was still interesting, and it made me think, actually, have you found that in general that there's been kind of more connections coming out of being forced into like lockdown and into these spaces that and a way of working that we might not usually be in? Have you found that you've had a lot more connections, or kind of been inspired to do different things? Like you're saying, performing's not usually where you sit, and yet I thought, wow, she's directing herself and everything. That must be quite challenging. Have you found that there has been a lot of other avenues that you've explored and things like that?
Yeah, I think that, going into, kind of government enforced quarantine, it's been interesting, because I think that it's provided a really different way of communication, and a way that, otherwise, like, I work in theatre, and I also work in kind of, poetry as well. So these are live art forms that really require kind of audience to feed off of, a team to bring your whole thing together. And, during lockdown, you didn't quite have that. So I think I'm also kind of quite naturally an extrovert. So by like day 10, I was like, I need to talk to somebody else, because this isn't working for me. But definitely going through it, I think I've gone inwards a lot more. And so it's been nice to kind of, I have not have the pressure to feel like I have to constantly create, just to go back to my craft and say, oh, I'm gonna read this, or I'm gonna just sit with this, or I'm gonna try and pick up this new skill. Because before this, I didn't have much experience, especially editing. It's incredibly technical, and because we did all of the sounds separately to the filming, it was really interesting. There's kind of two parallel pieces going on. So there's the visuals of what you see, and then there's the audio that kind of layers on top of it, which is really fun. But yeah, had no idea how to do that before, and very much learned kind of whilst we had this time at home.
Yeah. And you said actually you've been you got into photography as well. Do you think that's something that you would have done before lockdown, or you kind of got the space to do it from being in this situation?
I think beforehand, it's something I've always really wanted to do, but I think like it's quite an expensive hobby, like it's quite an expensive investment in yourself, and so I kind of was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I wanted to do this, but because you're not out traveling or seeing people, I was like, oh, let me try this and let me fiddle around with this camera, and yeah, I got some really, really gorgeous shots, and then we did this short film, and I was like, I'm not too shabby behind the camera, I'm okay.
And was it strange directing yourself for a club? Was it an odd experience because you're having to just tell yourself if something works or it doesn't work?
I think editing yourself is one of the most humbling experiences I think I've ever had. Like, I was just there like, oh okay, that's what I look and sound like, wonderful. It was tricky. I think a lot of I've got a few friends who are screen actors, and I was just like, I do not know how you do this, because there's something about live performance that I don't know. It's okay that it has character. It might be a bit rough around the edges, but when it goes well, it's the kind of spectacularness that everything in that moment suddenly went in order. Whereas when something is recorded, because you can keep going until it's perfect. We were filming when it was actually quite hot outside, so it's kind of 30 odd degrees, and like you're in the house, the lights are on, it's really hot, and I was just like, I just want to get this done so I can just go and sit out in the sun. And so my patience kind of all quite thin with myself. I was like, why can't you get this? You wrote the script, you know what happened.
Yeah. I've got to admit, when I was filming the trailer for this, it was during the heat wave, and so people were messaging me saying, "Oh, you look so good in that," and I was thinking that's great, because I was like sweating and just praying that it would be over, like ASAP, sort of thing. Okay, so I have a little bag here with some questions from a couple of our younger listeners, Jazz and Holly. They're 8 and 6, and I'm going to randomly pick one out for you. Apparently this is something that they'd really like to know about a grown-up. So what's your favourite nail polish colour?
What a great question. What a fantastic question. Mine would have to be, like an off-white. I feel like off-white is a very like classic nail look. When we were first allowed to go out and get our nails done, I got a mani-pedi, and I was like, I'll take the off-white. It's a very clean look, very summery. I had my sandals on for the rest of the summer when it was hot, just kind of showing off my nice off-white toes. So yeah, if they get a bit messy, it's okay, because they're off-white. They're not,
they're off-white.
White.
Yeah. There you go. That's a bit of advice for you there, Holly and Jazz. And we asked you to bring along an object that symbolises lockdown for you today. Have you brought it with you?
Yes, I have.
And what is it?
Yeah, my running trainers. They're my running trainers. Oh my gosh. These are actually these are relatively new, and I bought them only after I had done the first run. So I was like, if you can commit to actually getting outside, you are allowed a new pair of running shoes. I probably should not have done that, because I have blisters now, or I had blisters all over my feet, because my old running shoes are terrible. Like they were broken, and I definitely should have probably got these beforehand. But yeah, so I did a couch to 5K, and I'm still going through it. But this is probably one of the best things I've done during lockdown. Yeah, just so much better. And I discovered my local area, because I now run through it, or huff really tiredly. Actually, it's not pretty. It's not at all a great image, but I'm just, oh look, it's so nice around here.
Yeah, and you think, oh, I'm getting places so much quicker than I would do if I was walking, which should be obvious, but no, definitely. Yeah. Well, Esme, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the luck with all your projects and everything, and thank you for taking the time and the energy to chat with us today. It's really appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, I look forward to watching the rest of the show and then shows.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to watching Club as well. So.
Hi, Angela.
Thanks, Esme. Bye. Fab. And remember that Club is available to watch now, or maybe after the live stream, if you head over to fringeofcolour.co.uk. So, okay, thank you everyone that's been saying hello on the chat as well. It's nice to know that you're out there. And our next guest comes to us from an extremely important organisation, Lewisham Foodbank. So with 14 million people in the UK living below the poverty line, food banks have acted as a lifeline to many people across the UK, literally transforming lives for some people. With COVID-19 sweeping the nation, Lewisham Foodbank, like many other organisations, has had to rethink its day-to-day running and how it can still help the community in a time where they may just need it the most. So we are very excited to be joined today by Reverend Carol Bostridge, who is the Senior Project Manager of Lewisham Foodbank. I've just been told by my a wonderful tech support Mike that Carol's not quite here yet, so we're just going to be hanging on, waiting for Carol, just waiting for Carol to arrive so that we can have a lovely chat with her about all the wonderful things that she has been doing and Lewisham Foodbank have been doing over the COVID time and the lockdown period. And we've just, thank you, Julie, for letting us know on the chat that it's a fantastic podcast and that you have to go, but you'll catch up later. That is no problem, Julie. That's very polite of you. Thank you for letting us know. And great news, Carol is here and we are very excited to have her on the podcast. Hello, Carol. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. It's it's really fantastic to have you here this evening and to get the opportunity to talk about all the things that you've been involved in over this period of time. So you've worked for Lewisham Foodbank for the last 5 years. Is that correct? Yeah, great.
Yep.
And could you tell us a little bit about how COVID-19 has affected Lewisham Foodbank?
Yeah, I mean, before COVID, people used to come along with a red voucher, collect some food. We had 4 centres, 6 days a week, couple of hours each day. Since COVID, we closed 3 of the centres. We're only delivering food parcels now. A whole load of our volunteers had to step down because they were vulnerable. Whole new set of volunteers. So we are now delivering 30 or 40 food parcels every day, 6 days a week, 150 volunteers involved. It's changed beyond recognition. On the other hand, we've just been amazed at the generosity with people giving time and food and support, and great that we've been able to really help people for whom this has been just such a struggle. Yeah, this is it. And so you must have had to put a lot of different measures in place as an organisation that's very much having contact with people literally coming into the centre and things like that. Are you able to tell us a bit more about any measures that have been put in place and things like that? Yeah, so clients, people who need the food don't come to us now. We've got a team of drivers who deliver and they all turn up one at a time so they don't collide with each other and do anything like that. When people take the food, there's a protocol of knocking on the door, stepping back so you're not close to people. We only have, it's a big hall, we'll maybe have 6 people in there packing the food parcels. They work in teams of 3, like making up just a little bubble there. They only come in once or twice a week, so they're not no cross infection. We are forever saying, keep your distance, don't get so close. My hands have been washed and washed and washed. We have risk assessments and protocols as long as you're armed. But people have been great. They've taken it sensibly. They've really been careful. We haven't had any cases of COVID within the team. We haven't had to step anybody down at all. So people have been really careful, and they've been sacrificial in their personal lives as well, being careful.
Yes, yeah, as in sort of limiting who they're seeing, where they're going, things like that, in order to be able to come in to help at the food bank.
Yeah, which again, we're just grateful for people making sacrifices in their lives because they want to be able to help in this way. Yeah, and are you feeling so, and with the kind of return to a I'm reluctant to say the new normal, but it is that kind of way. Have you, and with people coming off furlough and people going back to work and things like that, are you seeing a shift in anything, a shift in the volunteers, or are you managing to still keep a solid base of people helping at the food bank, or have things changed at all? We've lost some people because they've gone back to work, but at the beginning, lots of people said they'd like to help. So we are forever having to bring new volunteers in. I'm very grateful to Caro, my volunteer coordinator, who has just been amazing at getting new teams in there, and other people being brilliant at training them. But we are beginning now to look to open up where people can come and collect a parcel. So we're hoping in about 3 weeks' time to get the first of our other centres back open, so people can have a time to come and get a parcel that will be ready for them pre-packed. And that's really got to be our road of travel now, because we're aware we will lose more of our driver volunteers as time goes on.
Yeah, and was that difficult to organise in the first place, having to make drop-offs with drivers rather than having people coming in to the food bank, or was that a challenge?
Oh yeah, I mean, we are very grateful to Lewisham Council and a few other charities. Lewisham is the best borough in the world. Just came together, Lewisham Local, Voluntary Service Lewisham, Age UK, Lewisham Council, just actually came together so that together we could solve these problems, put together some software, have a place where people could say they were in need. The council redeployed a couple of staff who could help with some of the logistics and the practicalities. And because people of Lewisham were so generous, we did have enough money to employ an extra member of staff as well. It has been huge. My head hurts when I go to bed each night. But equally, it is just amazing to see that we've been able to help people who have been really struggling, and that's what makes it always worthwhile.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's absolutely being able to help people and seeing people want to help each other is something to be really happy about, isn't it? And we've actually got a question coming in from the chat saying that they'd love to know what hardships Lewisham Foodbank has experienced as an organisation.
I have to say, and it's amazing, as an organisation, we haven't had much hardship because people have been so generous. People have upped their donations of food and of money. People have volunteered so that we've got a waiting list of volunteers. People have offered transport and given us free masks, and I've got some free hand sanitizer on its way. So as an organisation, there's some people who are working too hard and could do with more sleep, but that's the only hardship as a food bank. We have just been blessed. It has been wonderful.
That's so good to hear. That's fantastic. And it sounds like a bit of a theme talking to everyone tonight, really, where in a situation where things are quite awful for a lot of people and can be quite terrible, and there's all this stuff going on in the world, people are really coming together to try and help each other, which is amazing, really. And have you seen any changes over the last 5 years at the food bank? Have you seen kind of more people needing to use it, less people needing to use it, anything like that?
We were seeing more people. It was probably a gentle growth, but maybe 5 or 10% increase each year, sadly. Whereas when COVID hit, we probably trebled in that April-May time. It was 3 times as many people needing our help. I think you'd got a lot of people who'd lost work, and Universal Credit takes the time to kick in. Other people who were picking up some work normally, and it all went badly, or people who were just frightened to go out, couldn't get a delivery slot. It's calmed now. It's not that level now, but it's still probably double what it used to be. And a real mixture of people who almost ashamed as they phoned up said, look, I've never ever needed a food bank before. And, the fact we've been able to help them, people who used to donate, who've suddenly needed our help just because, it could be any of us. Who knows?
100%. This is it. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've got a question here from the chat, asking, are there any items in particular that the food bank are looking for currently?
Each week it's slightly different. So if you find us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, every week we'll put up an updated list of things. Some of the staples that we're always needing, tinned meat, tinned vegetables, tinned fruit are always good. Toilet paper, please. But it's all, on the whole, it's long life stuff. We do pick up some fresh fruit and veg through a charity called Fair Share, but the main donations, long life. And think like sanitary towels and the washing powder tablets and things like that we are giving out as well. And if you go on our website, there are loads and loads of places you can donate. A lot of shops have allowed us kindly to have a box where you can take your donations. So if you can't get down to Forest Hill, right across the borough are doctors, surgeries, shops, even funeral directors who've got a donation box in store.
Oh, that's good to know. And that's all on the Lewisham Food website.
Yeah, so if you go on Lewisham Foodbank website, click on the big donate button, donate food, and it will tell you all the places you can drop it off.
Great. Because there is a question actually coming in from the chat about which centre is open for donations at the moment.
It's the Hope Centre in Malham Road, Forest Hill. And because we're every day there, we've got people there 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. And we'll receive your donation, and we do it carefully. We get you to ring on the doorbell. We put a trolley outside, so again you can do it very safely. You don't have to come too near to us or anything like that.
Okay, great. And someone from the allotment channel is saying that allotments have a lot of free veg, but we're told a few years ago that food banks wouldn't take that veg. Is that still the case?
No, we are taking veg. The problem was a few years ago, somebody donated some veg to a food bank. The food bank gave it out, and the client, who wasn't the most grateful person in the world, didn't bother washing it, got ill and sued the food bank. That was why we then had to become reticent. But we would love allotment veg stuff. Ideally, if you can wash it first, that makes our life a whole lot easier. But we are giving out fresh fruit and veg, and that's really important at the moment. Probably the easiest, if you're going to do that, just drop us an email first, and we can check that it's stuff we can make use of. We did have a whole load of marrows, and it went down really, really well. We had somebody on our phone line, rang the clients and checked, and got some very excited clients that they were going to get a marrow to cook for the family.
They're great vegetables, to be fair. Yes. Marrows and courgettes, they're up there for me as well. So I guess important questions as well are, how can people get involved if you would like them to get involved, if they would like to get involved?
So if the easiest thing is to go to the Lewisham Foodbank website, donations are great. Donations of money and we'll spend it on food, or donations of food are great. Carrier bags, so we can get the food out to people without buying yet more plastic. If people would like to volunteer, again, there's a link on there to the web form, particularly as we're losing some volunteers. We are looking to get some new ones along, because this, I don't think, is going to go away anytime soon. So all of that would help. We're, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but the website's got the information as well. And any queries, drop us an email and we'll be nice to you and answer.
And another important question is, what if people would like to or need to use the food bank? How can people do that at the moment, if not in person?
So if people are in need of help, most of those people will be in contact with an organisation that can refer them. You need to get referred. And that could be your GP, your job coach, your housing officer, your social worker. And if you can't find any of those, again, on our website, there is a citizens advice helpline number you can ring, and they'll sort it all out for you.
Okay, great. And the website address is lewishamfoodbank.co.uk. Is that right?
I think it's lewisham.foodbank.org.uk.
I beg your pardon.
If you just Google Lewisham Foodbank, and it should come up quite quickly.
Great, fab, because the allotment channel is saying they've got loads of marrows and courgettes to get rid of. So this is...
So if they just drop it, and the email again is just an info@lewisham.foodbank.org.uk, so they could let me know, and I'm sure we can make good use of them, because we're giving out, say, 30 or 40 parcels every day. So an extra marrow to go with the stuff we get from Fair Share would go down very nicely.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Carol. And I've got a little bag here of questions from a couple of younger listeners, Jazz and Holly. They're 6 and 8, and I'm just going to pull one out at random. And questions they'd like to ask grown-ups. And this one is, what's your favourite game?
Well, two things. I love quizzes. So I love going to quiz nights, and I love doing quizzes. And I don't know if Sudoku counts as a game, but I love doing that as well.
Okay, great. There you go. Yes, thank you. I think it can count. It can count as a game if you're having fun from it.
Yeah.
And have you brought along your object that symbolises lockdown for you?
Yeah, no, I don't know if you can see behind me. I'll bring it down. Now, early in lockdown, I realised I was going to have to be attending far too many Zoom meetings. And to make them more fun, I decided to put random objects on the shelf behind me just to make it interesting. And this duck, you have to be a cricket fan. In cricket, a duck is when you get 0. This was awarded to my dad for having a season where he got the most zeros, which was not a good thing. So this is one of my dad's ducks. A dog bit its nose. So this just reminds me of those early tedious Zoom meetings I had to attend, and often I put it on the shelf behind me just to make it more entertaining for other people.
Brilliant. And did many people notice that duck?
It was interesting because you were watching people's faces, and at some point you realised they had seen that there was a duck behind you. And I've had a few other objects. I tried to give it a bit of variety and put little figures or something silly behind me.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Carol. It's been really great talking to you. Thank you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you. And good luck with everything you're doing at Lewisham Foodbank. And I hope you have a lovely week ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, so it's the final feature of the show where we say a big thank you to someone in the local community. Yes, it's time to give a shout out to a local living legend. That's right. Every week we will be giving thanks to someone nominated by you that's gone above and beyond in these crackers COVID times. And that can be anything from a neighbour that snuck a Twix through your letterbox when you really needed a Twix, or a family member that's working for the NHS. Whatever they've done, big, small. If they've made a positive difference or they're still making a positive difference, then we want to hear about it. Okay, so it's time for us to have a look at who is wearing the Living Legend crown this
Living
week.
legend.
What a legend.
Aw, thanks.
Shannon McNabb is my living legend because she really seems to make the impossible happen. Here we are in the middle of a pandemic and we have a kids' summer scheme going on. All the social distancing, all the good food, all the fun games, and just a really safe and beautiful space that she's created for everyone. And it's amazing. She plants so much hope and joy and light into the world without expecting anything in return. And I think that's really, really unusual to find. She's my living legend.
So I'm going to go right in with a huge thank you for everything you have ever done for me, for your friends, your family, your community. You are a ray of light, a beacon of hope, and 100% my living legend. Love you so much. Mwah!
That was lovely. Thank you, Rihanna, and thank you, Kelly, for nominating Shannon McNabb as this week's living legend. Shannon has been running a summer scheme in Lambeth, in Oval, feeding kids and running activities socially distanced over the last 5 weeks. And so, yes, Shannon, it sounds like you're an absolute legend and very much deserve that shout out. Now, if you know a living legend and you'd like to shower them with thanks on our show, then please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at podcast@sydenhamarts.co.uk, or you can get in touch with us over social media. We're on all of them, so do please say hello. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone that's tuned in this evening. It's been wonderful to have you here. Thank you to our brilliant guests. It was fantastic to talk to you, and we wouldn't have a show without you. So thank you so much for coming on and giving your time to have a chat with us today. Remember, if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button just below on your screen. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those, for all the exciting updates that Sydenham Arts has in store for you, and to see who we have on the show next week. If you're keen to listen to the podcast again, which I completely understand, you have a friend or family member who's more of an audio person than a YouTube person, then the audio version of the podcast will be available from early next week. And that'll be on all the podcasting places: Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor, and many, many more. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I hope you've had a lovely time. See you next week.